touched the edge to the corner of the roof, and the thatch roared to life, burning and smoking in a fury. The man's gaze caught hers, and he grinned before he yelled in exultation, throwing his torch in the dirt and beating his chest as if she were a glorious prize. Aye, she knew what he wanted. She yelled, "Run, Ashlyn, run!" Caralyn took off in the opposite direction, hoping she'd caught his attention enough for him to leave the girls and follow her. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed Ashlyn running toward the beach as they had planned. Caralyn fingered her dagger in the folds of the pocket she had sewn into her skirts. A last resort. Lord, help me be strong. I will fight. I will fight for my girls. Please help me. Her boots carried her down the path toward the center of the village where the fishermen kept their boats. Was anyone around to help? She glanced over her shoulder and noticed the Norseman had fallen for her plan and chased after her, his long strides bringing him closer every instant. Peeking to her right, she thanked God that her girls could no longer be seen, and she prayed they were safe. Ashlyn was a strong lass, as she had been forced to be. The Lord would keep them in his hands. A large paw grabbed her hair and wrenched her backward. She landed with a grunt, and her assailant chuckled. The raw odor of filthy flesh assaulted her nostrils as she glanced up to see the smile on his dirt-encrusted face. She recognized that look. It was an expression of sheer, perverse desire. This man hadn't been with a woman for so long that sexual need fueled his every move. He craved her body for what it was, a means to an end, with flagrant disregard for her soul and her emotions. Licking the side of her face, he palmed her breast through her wool gown. He was no different than any other man. He wouldn't stop until he raped her. So be it. He could do as he wished with her as long as he stayed away from her lasses. She would do anything to guarantee their safety. Rape her, beat her. She could handle anything as long as he didn't touch her daughters. One meaty hand clutched a death grip on her arm, and he pulled her up and turned to the side of the path, as if looking for a spot to bed her. But he stilled, listening to his surroundings, glancing all around. She guessed he looked for his comrades, but none were visible. As if having made a decision, he yanked her arm and tugged her behind him toward the coastline. She struggled to keep up as he took an alternate route through a thick group of trees. What in hell was he planning? Caralyn had been able to calm herself when she'd expected to be thrown into the bushes and forced to submit to him. She dreaded his touch, but she understood such a fate. She could handle it. Now she swallowed in an attempt to slow her pounding heart, because she had no idea where they were going. The unknown frightened her, and she knew not what he was about. His demeanor had transformed, subtly, but enough for her to know his goal had changed. As soon as they broke through the trees onto the vast shoreline, he yelled down the beach to his friends. Caralyn stumbled along beside him, but froze when her gaze settled on their destination. Realization smacking her hard between the eyes. A longboat. He was dragging her to his ship. He wanted to take her on his galley to service all his comrades, too. Not another female was in sight, though she saw one unmoving clump of wool not far away. A shock of hair stuck out from the pile. Who was it? Someone she knew? Was she already dead? Calm yourself, Caralyn. You can beat them, but only if you are in control. She forced several deep breaths into her lungs, willing herself to relax. But she couldn't. A longboat. He was taking her to the longboat, and he would tear her away from her girls. And what would become of her once she stepped onto that ship? They would use her as they saw fit, then toss her overboard. She could swim, but not from the center of the Firth. Never, never would he get her onto that ship. She had to think and act quickly. She thought of her girls, of Grace's big blue eyes staring at her. Who would care for them if something happened to her? They were her life, quite simply. The only thing she valued in this entire world sat hidden between rocks down the beach. Even though she hadn't been able to provide the best of lives for them, she was determined to change that if she survived this ordeal. Unleashing the pent-up anger